Traditional structures are breaking down. It's hard, and that's why it's hard to make sense of the new world. So now we're going to take a look at how we interpret the old world. Remember, because I want you to have the ability for yourself to think about, is it good, is it bad, or is it ugly? And not because some commentator on TV tells you how to think about it. I want you to think for yourself. And I want you to ask questions when you hear statistics and numbers so that you can understand for yourself what it means. All right, so what do we do to get a picture of what's happening in the world of work today? The jobs report, right? Everybody looks forward to the first Friday of the month, the stock market in anticipation. In December, it went up 360 points because the jobs report came out and it was good, right? Because unemployment rate is 5%. And I'm looking at December, and 292,000 jobs were created. What's interesting to me is, I told you I did this presentation last year. Those numbers haven't really changed. Not really. It was 5.6 and 252, so they're really not that different. So last time I talked about how the unemployment statistic was figured. There are some new faces here, so I'm going to just sort of run through briefly how we get that unemployment statistic. You know, we live in a world where there's very sophisticated data metric modeling. And we can get information from all sources and actually create models to predict. But do you know how we figure out the unemployment statistic? You got people in the Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics, sitting with a telephone on their desk. And they call 60,000 people around the country. And they ask them 3 questions. Were you working? Did you want to be working? And were you actively looking for work? If you're not actively looking for work, you're not included in the statistic. So were you working? Did you want to be working? Were you actively looking for work? I don't know about you, but I don't think that's the best way to come up with the number. So I actually had an opportunity to meet Robert Reich once, the labor secretary under Clinton, and I said to him, this has to change. We have to do better. Why can't we change the way we look at the real situation with unemployment in this country? And he looked at me and he said, it'll never happen. I said, why? He said, because statisticians love to have historical data to benchmark against. And if they have nothing to benchmark against, it doesn't mean anything to them. They'll never change. So he was wrong. They did change. They added 10,000. So now we have 70,000 people that get called. I mean, in the state of Wisconsin, they call 1,000 people and ask them those 3 questions. And that's how the unemployment rate is figured for the state of Wisconsin. So when you look at these numbers, you have to ask yourself, how accurate are these numbers? And what are they really measuring?